Welcome to Keeping It Real on Purpose. I am your host, Edna White, and today on our show is none other than Neil Rogers. He is an award winning sales executive and co business owner with over 25 years of success in the marketing and promotional products industry. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Edna. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're here today. I am so excited about your book. I wanted to talk about that first, but I'm going to just ask you my question is how do you show up in the world?
How do I show up in the world?
Mm-hmm.
I show up with a positive attitude and
Okay.
a make it happen way.
Oh, I like that. Make it happen. I like that. Audience
There are only
I might
solutions,
steal
Edna.
that.
There are no problems.
That's correct. I love that even more. There's no problems. That's really great. So tell us, I know you're an author as well, to Bar Tips, which I have a couple pages turned down already.
Yay.
But tell us about Bar Tips.
So you want the genesis of it? So how it all came about is
Yeah,
really it was
I want the genesis of it. I want the
yeah. So it
genesis
was
of it.
it started out as a COVID project, trying to keep myself
Ah.
from losing my mind, right? Like we all were. And so yeah, and I thought, a friend of mine had reached out. Well, I had reached out to him because that was kind of what I did during that time. And I still do it. I like to reach out to people, texting, whatnot, not getting their way, but just, hey, I was just
Right.
thinking of you today or whatever. And so one of them, he was a guy that I knew, that I've known for years, and he had
Hmm.
just had life-saving surgery. So
Right.
about 18 months prior, and he said he got on we got on the call. He actually gave me a call back and we started chatting. He was telling me about all the stuff that he's done since he's had this surgery. And I said, wow. And one of them was
Right.
writing a book. He says, you should write a book. I said, what am I going to write on? What do I have to offer? Everybody's got something to offer. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about it. And my daughter had been honored by the Chamber of Commerce, the
Hmm.
local Chamber of Commerce here in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And she was, one of those, people to watch under 30, one of the up and comers, right? One of those
Yeah.
things, right?
30, 30, the 30 and the 30s.
There you go.
That's what they call
And
them
then
here.
there's 40 and there 40. I get, yeah.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
so anyways, the guy who was the keynote speaker was the
Mm,
gentleman who brought Five Guys Burgers to New Hampshire. And he was a
mm,
really cool, he was a nuts and bolts speaker, no jargon, just from the heart, talking in
right.
plain language, all that stuff. So it's right up my alley, right? And so he started talking about, I don't know if you ever worked in hospitality, but if you're ever in the food business, there's a thing called pre-meal. And that's where they get the
Okay.
team together and they talk about what's out, what are the specials tonight, what's the wine of the night, whatever that may be.
Right.
And then they give a little bit of a rah-rah speech. So his
Okay.
rah-rah speech was to his team, we are not in the burger business. We're not in the fry business. We're not in the soda business. We're not in the shake business. We're in the hospitality business.
That's good.
I went just like this to my wife, who was for a point of context, we met while I was a bartender at a place called Tia's in Boston, who you probably read about, and Lori was a food
Mm,
waitress. And I looked at her, I said, I've never left the bar business. I've been bartending on the road for 30 plus years.
yeah.
And that's
That's
where
really
it
good.
came to. But the whole project didn't come to like 4 years, 3 or 4 years after that. And I said,
Right.
wait. And then what I did is I went and started interviewing. I started coming up with concepts and ideas and what I think would be the simple, fundamental basics that we talk about. that and then I would ask other people that were in the
Hmm.
business. I said, what do you think about this? Do you believe this? And I just get confirmation after confirmation after confirmation
Right.
from ex-bartenders,
Right.
food waitresses, whatever that may be. And then I
Right.
also interviewed owners of places that I worked for. And
Hmm.
like Jamie Tipping from the Boston Sail Loft contributed mightily on the peripheral knowledge chapter. Lori
Okay.
Lilly, who is in own Tia's, and she contributed to the attitude, aptitude, and appearance chapter. And
Okay.
but overall, confirming my whole thought about, and then I just started talking to people, and just like, yeah, of course that
Right.
makes sense. So
Yes.
that's how it all came about. And then the stories and all that came after that. We matched up stories with each chapter and what was
Right.
germane and some fun bar story that goes along with some road sales story. So that's kind of how it all
Okay,
started.
that's great. What
Yeah.
was your one of your stories that made you go, uh-huh?
Oh, well, so I wasn't a very successful student coming out of high school. I was young,
Okay.
coming out of 17. I was the seventh of eight of an Irish Catholic family, so not not many people paying attention at that point, right? And I literally went to my mother in May of my senior year and said, "Is there something I should be doing next year?"
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like it is today where we've got our kids' lives planned out from DNA,
Yeah, at 9 years old, right?
right? It's oh yeah, even before that, there's something there. So
Yeah.
so anyways, um, so I struggled through figuring out what I was going to do. I hadn't really didn't have a lot of interest of it was community colleges I went to and I did well and then I just kind of fizzled out and then I had no interest and
Right.
didn't see the value and lacked vision and maturity for sure. There was no question
Right.
about
Right.
it. And then and so what I was always working in the hospitality business. And then I was working as the stuff back of the house stuff. Then I was busboying, and then I went out and started bar back. So now I'm behind
Right.
the bar with the bartenders, and I'm watching them, and I'm like going, "That looks cool." And that was my only criteria for wanting to be a bartender is it looked cool. So I just
Look
show you where
cool.
my head was at. So I set my sights out to get a bar job.
Hmm.
And so and I knew of a guy that was going to be managing a bar called the Full Sail in White Horse Beach, Plymouth, which is part of Plymouth, Massachusetts. So I went and asked for a job, and he said, they're all filled, but I can give you 5 nights on the door. So I went
Hmm.
back to on the door, checking IDs, getting I. So now I'm back bar backing and also checking
Right.
IDs.
Right.
And then he says, "Well, the day bartender doesn't want the job anymore. Do you want it?" I said, "Absolutely." So I took the job. And then when I poured my first drink, put it in front of the person, and they took a sip out of it, and they went, "Hey, that's good." I liked the immediate feedback of that.
Uh-huh.
I had asked them what they liked, what would you want? Got a
Right.
little got a
Right.
little got a little banter going. And then
Hmm.
from there I just kind of took over. I mean, my personality and the way that I like to talk to people and be
Yeah.
with people and introduce people and play darts, whatever the deal was.
Hmm.
That was really the huge aha moment where I said, okay, after flunking out of school,
Yeah.
taking a swing and a miss, I needed a
Right.
little self-esteem boost. And I said,
Yeah.
okay. So now because I was not my father, I mean, I taught my father was an engineer so he was a technician, trained technician, but he was an engineer.
Okay.
He was a brilliant man with his hands. I did not get that gene.
Right.
Neil was never gonna be an engineer.
Yeah.
But what I did realize is that that I had these, according to people in the bar, you had these interpersonal skills,
Yeah.
and that could translate well into the sales field. So now I go back to
Absolutely.
school again, but this
Uh-huh.
time the difference is I've got a vision, I have a purpose, I know I know what I'm going for.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
developed a system
Uh-huh.
of getting good at school. Do you know they like you to
Wow.
show up? There's one. They want you to listen.
Yep, that's
You to
it.
ask questions. They want you to
Yeah.
answer questions. They want you
Hmm.
to go to the office hours. They want you to do the extra work.
Yeah.
They want you to basically over deliver. Kind of
Right.
sounds like sales, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so essentially I started, it was kind of my first little algorithm, my
Hmm.
process.
Right.
Algorithm in today's parlance, right? And I took that same thought process and brought it into my sale combined with all the stuff I'm learning as my
Hmm.
interpersonal skills and
Right.
how to diffuse situations, how to read a room, how to you know how to how to properly greet somebody,
Yeah.
how the importance of being on time, how
Yeah.
to be organized.
Yeah.
So all that stuff I'm learning on the fly behind the bar, but then I also developed these little organizational things for school. So now I come out,
Uh-huh.
I'm ready to roll. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm ready to
that's
have my
cool.
first job and go out and fail, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking back over your decision when you were younger, do you think it's a great idea to encourage at a certain age to be an entrepreneur or look for their idea of what they're supposed to do, like give them the idea or allow them?
Well, I think if I was, I think a lot of the people I run into that are really, I mean, wildly successful,
Hmm.
entrepreneur, really truly entrepreneurial. I'm a
Right,
sales entrepreneur, which is I've always been a commission guy. So in that
right,
case, I've never had a safety net. But
yeah,
I think that and this is something I wish I had done more of, and it's kind of one of those woulda, coulda, shouldas. Um,
yeah,
I like the hustlers, the guys that had the paper routes, and then they worked another job, and they still got their studies done, and they might have played a sport. They were
hmm,
really well rounded in
right,
that fashion. And when
hmm,
I see somebody, there's a guy that I live in a golf community here now, and the guy who owns
okay.
the golf club, he was the guy he had a landscaping business. He had a paper route. Then he did the lawn mowing. Then he had a full blown
It's
landscaping
all that
business.
stuff together, right?
Yeah, you listen to him, you go, boy, man, you were a hustler. I couldn't
Yeah,
categorize myself as a hustler as a kid.
right,
I could categorize it once I got behind the bar, and then I really
right,
I got the taste of making some good money. And I said, all right, I want to continue
right.
to do this. How do we do that?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I think there's, I think they should. I don't think you can. I think it's difficult to start from a dead stop. Come out and
Right,
be an entrepreneur.
right.
I
Okay.
mean, you have I mean that's my opinion. But
Yes.
I think I just like those I like those stories when people hustle and but they also get their
Hmm.
schoolwork done and they're good at that.
Yeah.
Might have played a sport, so they get all that discipline down. So I think there's something to be said for being well-rounded. And
Okay.
I
Okay.
had to kind of I had to just figure it out on the fly because there was
Yeah.
just I have no axe to grind with my parents. They had a lovely upbringing. They're
Right.
wonderful, but at seven when you're on a 7 of 8, you
Yeah.
know, there's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. It,
not a
it
lot of
kinds of
guidance.
weighs its way. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm the eldest of six, so I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. You got to do this, and then you're left alone to figure out the rest. I get
Right.
it. I
Well, yeah,
so get
you're
it.
leading the charge in that case.
Yeah.
Oh,
I get it. I get it.
so.
Listen, as a sales executive, like, how did you handle fears and uncertainties? How did you handle that?
Well, I think I guess it's one of those things too. It's everything's in retrospect now because I just drudged ahead.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
there were things I didn't do, like I should have bought more real estate.
Got you.
It's one of my little regrets I had. And I think I
Right.
was fearful because I was a commission guy that
Right.
I
Okay.
wasn't gonna make it when I always
Mhm.
was tops of the trees in whatever
Yeah.
I did. I don't know why I had that fear. I don't have that fear. Well, of course I don't want for anything anymore, but the
Yeah. Yeah. I
but
understand. Yeah.
I don't but and I've noticed it now. It's like, all right, a little bit more real estate because I could have bought that for
Yeah.
129 grand. It's worth 800. I could have bought that for 240. It's worth
Yes.
1.2.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like
I'm with
that's
you.
just
I'm with you on that. Definitely with you on that.
yeah.
I said the same thing. I'm have a history of real estate for like 20 something years, and I was like, I said that the other day. I should have bought more when it was like a two bedroom for like 50,000. I should have did that.
Right. Right.
Just should have did that.
And
you
we
know.
weren't good. We did keep our first property here in town for a couple of
Hmm.
years.
Right.
We just weren't good landlords.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just
I agree.
we just
I
didn't.
second that emotion too.
It wasn't
I
in our it
second
was
that.
not. And
Yeah. I
again, I
second
think it's
that.
one of those things that's either in you can take that form of
Yeah.
annoyance or you can't. And I
Or you
just
can't. Right. Right. Yep. Yeah. I agree. Totally agree. So tell us, I have a couple of things I want to just share with the audience from out of the book that but you covered one with the hospitality. You already covered that. You just totally covered that. I was like, okay. So I'm going to go to the two sides of an organizational coin. Share that your concept with the audience.
Two sides of an organizational coin. Boy, you picked an obscure one there, Ed.
So I'll read a
Give me
part
the
of it. Let me read
context
a
real
part.
quick.
Okay. When While I am no longer a bartender, when I visit a restaurant, I sometimes I can catch myself looking at the bar efficiency.
Right.
Call it a force of habit. However, looking at it now from customers' perspective, combined with the bartender's behind the scenes understanding, proves an eye-opening experience.
Right.
That's the two-sided
Okay.
one.
All right. I get you. So yeah, it's I forever am going to be a bartender.
Yeah.
And who knows, I've even joked about working functions just to have some fun doing it. Because it's, I don't want to stop working. I don't,
Yeah.
it's not my DNA to
Yeah.
do that. But
Yeah.
I do have a tendency when I go into a place to look
Uh-huh.
at why did they set it up like that? Why, why
Yeah.
wouldn't they? And so there's a place downtown, and I mentioned it in the book that
Hmm.
they created this place out of from scratch. It was a Pier One
Wow.
Imports, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they put this place in there. And I'm sitting
Okay.
there one night and I'm watching this woman who's pretty good. I mean, she was fast and very attentive and all that, but she's
Hmm.
running around like crazy. So I finally, when she had a break in the action, I said, "Can I ask you a question? Didn't they build this thing from scratch?" And she says, "Yeah." I said, "And this is the setup they did?" She goes, "I know, they didn't ask us." So
Oh
it
gosh.
never leaves your blood. And but it
Yeah.
also, it's a reminder to keep, to keep yourself organized, to keep myself organized. All this
Yeah.
stuff, by the way, I wrote because I want to keep remembering it and I
Yeah.
want to keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Right. But I
So
think you're also solution oriented too.
yes.
Another person can look at the two-sided coin and not really just see, their side of it, but you also were oriented. You could have said, "Hey, this is what you could do, is you can move this over here." You could have had a whole different conversation,
Right.
and use your sales ability to get a whole nother job.
Yeah,
you know.
what I'm trying to avoid these days is,
Yeah.
you know, giving unsolicited advice, you know.
This is
I mean,
true. This is true.
it's like, because you know what? I know what I know, but I don't
Right.
know what circumstances they were in. I don't know if they didn't
Right.
have the money to pay
Right.
the consultant. All those
Right.
things. But but yeah, I mean, we try to stay, as I mentioned,
Mhm.
launching into the conversation, your original question. If we stay in a positive mindset, right,
Mhm.
we then become, it gets us to a place of open-minded solution providing
Yeah.
creativity. So that's the
Yeah.
place where we like to sit, because then if your mind is clear, and that's how you can be solution providing, in
Right.
my view, so but
Right. Right.
I like to stay out of other people's business. I mean, it's like, it's much, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I've got the big enough mouth to get in my own
Yes.
way, but I also do subscribe to another philosophy, which is a manager, a
What's
sales
that?
manager of
What's
mine.
that?
Never avoid an opportunity to keep your mouth shut.
Oh, love it. I love it. I'm always thinking the same way. Like, so judgmentally, you always want to start judging, right?
Right.
So when I see something I know is getting my attention too much, I'll hone into the color. I was like, oh, my grandson really loves those colors, or my granddaughter really loves those colors. Whatever it is that I'm honing into to kind of make a judgment, I then like think about something that makes me happy, and then I'll just translate it to make me happy. So I don't have no judgment on it at all. So I'm like
Yeah.
an innocent bystander.
Well, you control 90% of your own happiness.
Yes, you do. You really do.
Your
You really
car,
do.
your job, your money, your this stuff is only 10%,
Hmm. Yeah,
according to research shows.
absolutely. What book or mantra or quote kind of shaped your entrepreneurial your where you were as far as a sales exec? What shaped that? What mantra?
Do small things greatly.
Oh, that's good. You hear that, audience? That is really good. That's a good one. I like
And
that
that
one.
we have to give credit where credit is due. That is Napoleon Hill.
Yes.
Think and Grow Rich.
Yes. Yes. So I know we've been talking a little bit about your book, and I don't want to give too much away, but what's your
Mhm.
favorite part in the book, Bar Tips?
I think the one that I love the most, because I think it really goes to ego problems and humility and
Mm-hmm.
all that, is taking ownership when a problem arises, right? Because it can
Right.
translate well into your personal life too. So you're
Right.
having a little tiff with someone or whatnot. Ask yourself before you lash out, before you come back,
Right. Right.
what was my role in this? How could I have done
Mm-hmm.
better? So if you,
Yeah.
as an example, and the guy who gave me that tidbit of information, who was acknowledged in my book, Jim Callahan,
Mm-hmm.
he said when I was training with him in the food business, and he was kind of the wisecracking, beer drinking sales guy. He was a great guy, but you put him in front of a customer,
Mm-hmm.
completely transformed. Knew
Wow.
his product. He was courteous, kind, professional, all that.
Yeah.
And so I learned that was just something that, like that just came as I'm watching him. I going, oh, I guess you could still have
Yeah.
fun and be a serious businessman too.
Right.
And so so he would tell me those things, tidbits
Right.
like that, but then he would just go like this. He said, whenever anything goes wrong, start here. Did I
Ooh,
place the
that's
order
good.
properly? Did I get it in time?
Right.
Did I listen? Did I hear was I actively listening and heard what the
Right.
customer said? So that way
Right.
you kind of diffuse the situation before you lash out and blame it on, well, the guy in the warehouse is a jerk, and the
Yeah.
guy probably
Yeah.
didn't take it off the truck, and blah
That's
blah
good
blah blah blah.
advice. Good.
Because nobody looks good in that case.
Yeah.
And
Make everybody look
I
good. That's
think
great.
I think the bar example I use of this, I think, is a really cool
Mm-hmm.
one. That Dennis Mayer was pouring a vodka martini straight up, extra dry.
Mm-hmm.
So he pours the drink, puts it in front of the woman. She takes a sip out of it. That's not dry enough. Okay. He comes over and whispers to me. Now you know what an ingredient. So it's vodka and dry vermouth. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
That's what
Got you.
that's what
Got you.
makes up a martini. Well, that's
Okay.
a martini. I'm sorry. A martini is gin and dry vermouth. A vodka martini
Okay.
is vodka. And
Okay.
so he comes over and kind of whispers to me, "I've never put a drop of vermouth in a martini." But you know what he did?
What do
He
you
iced
do?
down the glass, put it over by her, poured the vodka in. No vermouth ever is seen. Pours it over into the iced down glass. Puts it in front of her. She takes a sip out of it. She goes, "That's the one." Now,
It's
what
great.
Dennis? What did he do? He lost 2 ounces of booze for the place, right?
Yeah.
2 ounces of booze. And actually, we probably didn't. He probably could have used it in another drink. He might have, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so what was the best path on that? Well, he
Mm-hmm.
diffused the situation. He took
Yeah.
ownership for it, right? And had a satisfied customer, right?
Sorry. You can get my dog. Hold.
No worries.
Go sit. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. Go
Sure.
ahead.
So, and
Continue.
the new adage that we have in this, so some of these things, especially now that I'm developing a workbook and whatnot, and if I was to do it over again or do a revision one, these would all be in there. But the overarching mantra or old adage, if you will, of the book is the golden rule,
Uh huh.
right? Do unto
Wow.
others. How do you want to be greeted? How do you,
Yeah.
when somebody comes to see you, do you want to see them organized? When you've got an appointment or you're going somewhere with someone, do you like them to be on
Mhm.
time? Right. So just these simple
Yeah.
things. But the new
Simple.
adage,
Yeah.
because we've kind of added a few in because they didn't exist, In this,
Okay.
in that chapter, it's being being right is overrated.
Ooh,
Do not push your
that's good.
rightness on anything. And it
That's
is,
good.
and I'll tell you, this next year in this political environment, people should probably use that one. Probably take that to
Yeah,
heart. You'll
very
have better
good one.
relationships.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that because COVID has taught us that when you're in the house with somebody, either you're going to make it good or it's going to, after it's over, you're going to part. One or the
Right.
other. It's going to teach you about relationships.
But
What's
I
the
tell you what,
biggest?
if the audience out there just tries that,
Yeah,
this it
yeah,
will be worth their time of listening to this guy.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What's the biggest misconception about bartending?
Biggest misconception, boy, I think from a customer standpoint, I mean,
Hmm.
is that it's that it's easy. Maybe. I mean, it's like, anybody could do it. It's not.
Right, I don't
You
think
have to
so.
have you
I've
have to
seen
have
that done.
patience like you can't imagine. And not like, and I
Hmm.
was not a I mean, part of my, uncoachability at that point in time in my life, which was part of my issue getting started,
Oh,
was, I wasn't I wasn't a patient guy as much as I mean, so
wow.
in retrospect, that
Hmm.
I think you gotta have patience. You need to be able to be on your feet for a long period of time. You need quick hands.
Yes.
You need to be you have to have the physical attributes. I mean, it all depends on where you work. The
Right.
places I worked were high volume, high pressure, you know,
Okay.
pour, 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 pour,
Mhm.
pour. So,
Wow.
so yeah,
Okay.
I'd say that, that would probably be the
Right.
one that I would
Okay.
pick.
If we could rewind the time from the beginning of your journey, of entrepreneurship or working, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
I would say, I would say, I would go back to when I got going. It was like I said, that my little mantra I told you. I put one foot in front of the other. Don't try to take it all on at once. Don't try to. So if I stuck to school, even though, I wasn't a huge, I was dean's list my first semester. It wasn't like, that but the next semester I just lost all interest and go, basically. And I've got no excuse for that. I've got no answer for it. I just didn't go. But if I had, and if I just followed along and just stayed with the process of school,
Hmm.
it would have, we would have circumvented a lot of angst in years. But in the end, it was the journey I was on, and I had to do it
Hmm.
my own way, and being a little
Right.
hard headed didn't help, and
Yeah.
thinking I had all the answers when I had none.
Right.
So that would be the thing.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Maybe seek assistance, look for help.
Oh, good. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
that
we have a problem with asking for things or asking just in general when we're even struggling. I know that, but I'm an asker. I'll ask in a minute,
right,
especially if I'm struggling. I don't want to struggle,
right.
And
It's
as
no
we get
fun.
older, I think we don't want to struggle, right? We don't want to be bothered,
Correct.
you know. So I think
Mhm.
that's really it.
Yeah.
Um, So I'm you're going to be the first that I'm going to test out bringing in talking about trending things today. So there's a lot of trending things, and I think the overarching is telling the truth. How does that factor in with integrity, with entrepreneurship? Can you share how you kind of factored telling truth and having integrity?
I'm going to read you something I read every day.
Okay, let's hear it.
And again, it's coming from my friend Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve
That's
me
really good.
because of my willingness to serve others. So you have to get, it's a give and take.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's good. Excellent. That is so good. So good. And with that, where can my audience find your book? I know it's Bar Tips and it's very easy to find, but where can they look for you if they want to ask you a question about your sales? Because everything in this book here is about about how a lesson you learned about how to sell and how to even treat other people. So I like the fact that you shared a lot of that, took a lesson from that. But how can the audience find you?
So the website for all of this is positive, as you can see right here,
Activity.
positiveactivity.net.
Okay.
And
Absolutely.
you can
Okay.
see more
All
about
right.
us, our program. Our positive
Okay.
activity program is something we're very proud of. Um,
Okay.
and that's that's what we've been doing for in bits and pieces for
Mm-hmm.
almost 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for coming to the world and sharing bar tips. Everything I needed to know in sales, I learned behind the bar by Neil Rogers. Thank you, Neil, for being
Thank
here
you, Edna.
today. And we hope that the audience got something from this. And remember to click those buttons and subscribe and share this around so that everyone finds out about bar tips. This is Edna White, your host, signing off, and my esteemed guest, Neil Rogers, saying bye for now.
See y'all. Good luck.